so pretty simple. It's kind of a key right here. So total appointments is first. This is just weekend numbers, right, Jermaine?
Yeah.
So since Thursday, our week, we track from Thursday through Wednesday, right, every week. So he's run 18 appointments in the first half of the week, or scheduled 18.
Yeah.
He's got 8 remaining, right, so he probably booked 8 today, is my guess.
Yeah.
He's written $3,100 worth of premium so far in 3 applications.
Okay.
Same thing, Alex is scheduled 30, he's got 10 left, meaning he's run 20. He's wrote 4,800, 4 apps. 16, 6 left, 3,400, 2 apps. Does that make sense? Gary's run 20, scheduled 29, 15 remaining the next 2 days. We have 5,600 so far, 6 apps. So when you're new, the easy way is to take about half of that. It's about if you were new, which you'll get deposited at the beginning. Once you're here for a while, a lot of these guys, that is what they'll get deposited with their higher contracts. They got back-end monies kicked in, no advance on how much you know about outside. Renewals are kicking in. You get better at underwriting, you get things approved quickly. You start to understand the process. At the beginning, you go half, maybe make $1,700 in 2 days of work. For most people, it's pretty good numbers. As you start to build this thing. I remember the first time I started writing Rob when my deposit was more than the AP. I was like, this is cool. You know what I mean? But you gotta build that up for a little while. Early on, it's a little lower, but that makes sense? Questions on that or pretty clear? Pretty clear. All right, well, I'm not gonna sit up here and talk too long. We got, most of y'all should know Domonique Rodgers. Good friend of ours. We always say he's like adopted in the Southeast. He's like our brother from the other coast. Flew all the way from Cali. He's one of the best writers that's been in the company. He knows how to write a ton of insurance. Leads a big team. They're doing, what did you do, a little 400 grand this month? 400 grand issue paid volume. That's 50, 60 writers. He's flown out here, definitely to learn. He came here to learn some stuff, but he's like, hey, I'll give back and teach some as well. So those that don't know, my buddy Dominique.
Out here to learn something, like, because when I look at this business, and don't mind this, say hi to everybody, guys. You guys see this? This is FFL Southeast, their training center. It's like the size of some people's offices, like their whole office. It's like this right here. You guys got to know what you're a part of. Like, have you guys been around the country and saw like other deals? And I would get out there. Seriously, I'd get out there and see what other groups. Doesn't mean one right, wrong. You just know that you got the right soil. Does that make sense? Doesn't mean other people can't grow. It just means y'all got Miracle-Gro. Does that make sense? All right, guys. I appreciate you guys having me. I'm gonna turn this thing off. You guys got one of these GoPros? Anybody got one of these things?
Yeah.
It's legit, right?
So,
Yeah. You gotta learn how to figure it out,
a
though.
bunch of attachments too. You gotta.
Yeah. Gosh, that's the only one I use. They were like, "You got one to put on your head." I was like, "Nah, I'm not gonna do that." So I appreciate you guys having me. I'm Domonique Rodgers. I live in Oceanside, California, which is like 40 minutes north of San Diego. Anybody familiar with that area? It's kind of far from here. Yeah. If you guys go there, you guys might not want to leave. But then you might want to leave after you check your tab, and you're like, "Oh, yeah, I'm gonna get out of here." It's a lot different. It's a lot different. And with, me and Steph were talking earlier today. We're like, it's commission-based sales. Like, the annualized premium is the annualized premium in all 50 states. Right? You'd be like, well, people have more money in California. No. Not the people who fill out our forms. Does that make sense? The people who fill out our forms are the people who fill out our forms. And their income is about the income of the people who fill out our forms. Does that make sense? So it's like, I just look at like where we live at and things like that. I'm like, well, no, you guys are like, you're in a good spot. I mean, don't be in such a hurry. Does that make sense? Like, I was like, why are you leaving North Carolina to go to California? And I didn't know at the time. And then I lived there for like 4 or 5 years, and I'm like, it's like living there as a kid is a lot different than living there as an adult. Like, I grew up there from 0 to 19, and from 0 to 19, how many bills you got? 0. It's amazing, I love it. And then you come home and you're like, wow, like, this is a 2-bedroom, and they live like in a 6 on 24 acres. This is crazy. So it's all about perspective. All about perspective. So actually, they had me come here to train, and really, I don't know where you guys are at. Does that make sense? So I don't want to sit up here and go, hey, here's what I know, and just talk at you. I'd rather want to know what you guys want to know from me. Okay? I know a few of you guys in the room. And I'll tell you a little bit of background about kind of where I am right now in the business. I sold full-time for 4 years, okay, and I've been out of the field now for 3, Okay. Now, the years that I was in the field, I sold well over $300,000 every year, and I was mentored by Sean. All right, like that was the only person I ever talked to about insurance sales. Now, when it comes to building a business, I talk to a lot of people. Like I talked to Wetmore, John, but Mike Killamette never taught me anything about how to sell life insurance, and he wouldn't say he did. Does that make sense? You know, but so from what I know from that end of it, is basically everything on the simplified end. If you guys ask me a question about annuities, I'm going to pass it. Okay, if you ask me about a question on IULs, I'm going to pass it. Because I know how I conceptualize it, but I don't know how to teach you. Does that make sense? And I think, and I just wanted, before you go, hey, about this annuity, I'd be like, I don't want to waste your time, but I wrote final expense and mortgage protection life insurance. A lot of it. Does that make sense? But there's a lot of moving parts that come with it. So any questions that you guys have, phone script, I'd say that we have a lot of different phone scripts in the country. Okay? If they work, they're all good. Okay? I just know that what I learned from Sean worked for me. Okay? And I think there's a lot of different people who take different parts of phone scripts and make it their own, and I think that's what everybody should do. I think if that's the case. But if you have any questions about phone script, different lead types, what to say, objections, I'm very confident that I can give you a good answer. Okay, if we're talking about how to book appointments. In that situation yet. So I just want to let you know what I don't know. Does that make sense? So we can make this hour and a half good for you guys. Does that make sense? What's your name? What the hat on?
Miranda.
Miranda? How long you been with Family First Life?
3 months.
3 months? How much you selling? Let me take it, you work for Gary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then she did 7, then she did 8, then she did 12.
So you're on the right track. What's your goal in August? Do better than you did last month. I hear that. All right. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. She'd be like, I did $12,001 this month. Like, that's better than you did last month. You know, I think that's how we have to look at ourselves in this business now. Do we have these huge goals? Absolutely. But are you better than you were yesterday, the previous month, etc.? What type of leads are you working?
Final expense and mortgage.
Cool. Aged mortgage or all brand new leads?
Mostly new.
New. Cool. Do you like new leads or old leads? Either? Okay. That was a politically correct answer.
Well, I would say final expense.
New leads. Okay.
Facebook.
Yes. Grayson, what you get? You get new leads or old leads?
Both retro and old leads.
Retro mail drops?
Yeah.
And then older leads like mail pros, $1,
Yeah.
$3, things like that?
And the Facebook final expense.
Facebook final expense, okay. Where's most of your premiums come from? Even?
Yeah.
Okay. Who in here is running a lot of Facebook final expense outside of Grayson? Don, right? Nice. And right next? Shaniqua. Did we meet, were you in Vegas? And we were dining together. Yeah, I remember. Okay. How much are you writing, Shanika?
Yeah.
Okay.
Average work all between 10 and 15.
10 and 15, all Facebook?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any questions about anything that you got going on with Facebook leads or the in-home for your final expense or anything like that? Would you like to be selling more?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think is holding you back from doing that?
Me.
Okay.
Lack
What
of
part of you?
discipline. Just lack of discipline.
Okay.
Actually sitting down and having a consistent schedule.
Well, you're here, so this is a good part of it.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just when I get home, that's
Okay. Stay here longer.
No,
No, I just stay here longer. Like I just don't, just stay here as long as you can. You know, that's what I was talking to a guy earlier today, Javier out in California. In his first week, he was very intentional because he had things over his head that he had to figure out, right? So he's in the office at 8, dialing until. Second week, he got paid like $1,700. He's been with us 7 days, okay? $1,700. Comes into the office, still on time, but now he wants to talk. Now he's talking about how much he got paid. Does that make sense? And then this week, he submitted no $1,000. But then today, we get on the phone and he's back intentional about, and I was like, hey, last week, and I just let it happen. Grayson, before somebody's talking, I'd be very mature and come out the office and, hey, I just let it happen. Does that make sense? Because I look at like Mike and John, I'm like, you guys don't address like everything like right when it's happening. Does that make sense? Like, let it happen. Let him go through not getting paid. And then say, hey, remember last week? So it took me 7, this is like very patient of me, Grayson. Seriously, I'm sitting there in my office, they're talking, oh my God, I'm about to lose my mind. You know what I mean? They're just talking, he's talking to somebody who's written $2,000 the whole year. You know, she doesn't care. She's gonna sit there and talk to him all day. And then you guys have a bigger environment to where can be more apt to happen or not if everybody's on the same page. Does that make sense? You know, I heard people go, well, like, I closed my door, I put a sign on my door. Eric Schmidt, he goes, I put a sign on my door that says, I'm dialing, leave me alone. That's it. You know what I mean? It's like, I think that if we took our dials more seriously, okay, and not just when we needed them, it's like, when I was younger, my grandfather asked me, well, my great uncle, he goes, do you pray? And I go, yeah, when I need it. And he goes, okay. Yeah, I think you need to just do it all the time. Right? And I think about that like with our dialing. You get serious about dialing when you need it. But if you're up, it's like, I know I need 20, but does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then you start leaving early, things aren't going like Shanika said. That's right? Shaniqua, like Dominique. Q. You got it. All right, so you've got to always remind yourself, all right, that the phone is all that matters. What's your name?
Cassie.
Cassie. You selling?
I just started.
Just started. How long ago?
A couple weeks ago.
You with him?
Yep.
How you guys know each other?
High school, from back home in New York.
Gotcha. Hence the hats.
Yeah.
You're on different sides, though, I see. You're on different sides of the tracks. You come out to LA, I don't know how that's going to work. Well, I guess in Atlanta, y'all don't care. Well, I don't care, but I guess you got to care when you're in the environment. You know what I mean? You got to. You'd be like wearing the wrong thing. You're like, I don't want to make it out. So are you licensed yet?
Yeah, I'm licensed.
Licensed, okay, cool. Have you started down on the phone?
I just started watching them through the phone and I'm about to start,
Today.
I was just waiting on my contract for you.
Gotcha. Is Georgia a pre-appointment state? Like you have to be appointed before you go out?
No.
You don't? Okay. So you're gonna start today?
Alright, cool, that's
Okay, cool. There's no why watch somebody? I don't get that. You know what I mean? It's like, well, I don't know. Like, let me just fight. Like, I don't need to watch you get beat up. Like, you know? He's like, let me hop up in there. I had a guy I was talking to last week, and he goes, hey, you guys do like ride-alongs? I went on this other company, and I did like 2 ride-alongs, and they didn't sell anything. And I go, you must have learned a lot. You know, and he goes, no, I don't believe it, man. I just don't. I need to win. If I join you guys, man, you're gonna have to take me out in the field. I need to know it's real. And I said, let me help you out. How old are you? He goes, I'm 52. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna give you some advice. Now I'm 32. You have 20 more years of life experience than me. Okay? What I advise is if this is how you've been attacking your life for 52 years, I think you need to start jumping at stuff instead of waiting on to see how everybody else does it. So I could take you out in the field, or we can do that. But if I don't close and I'm selling 400 grand a year, you're gonna say it don't work? And I could very well, Grayson, you go out there and throw up a 0?
Yes, sir.
There you go. If he went out there with you, man, he would have been like, this sucks, it don't work. You know, I mean, but it's just one of those things where it's like, sometimes you gotta be out there and do it, because I don't know if he's good or not, but he may suck. Maybe great. But you, like the guy who hired me, he sucked. He sucked. I knew he sucked, and I was like, oh, I'm not asking you anything, because he didn't know nothing. So I went, who hired him? Does that make sense? And he goes, yeah, he doesn't know nothing. But he wasn't trying to get in the way and teach me stuff either. That's what I liked about him. Like, he wasn't just, hey, Josh, you should do this. I was like, no, dude, you're not doing anything. You sit on the couch all day. And we were roommates, so I knew he was on the couch. that was the funny thing. I was like, this is odd. Like, I'm running appointments, you're making an override, and you're on the couch. All right, cool. I'll pass you eventually. You know what I mean? And then he quit, and then he came back, and then he quit again. And so, if history repeats itself, he should be coming back within like a month or 2. I'm serious. You guys be like, yeah, Marcus Jones. Like, yeah, my #1 guy. He's killing it. He's a good friend of mine, but I'll make fun of him all the time. So any questions about the phone script? My man with the yellow shirt on, what's your name?
Chase.
Chase, you selling?
Yes.
How much?
A lot, no, I'm just kidding. About,
I believe it.
I'm speaking like futuristic.
Gotcha.
Claiming.
Like this week?
This past week, 1400.
1400. Cool. How long you been with Family First Life?
Going 2 months.
2 months. Cool. What's your biggest hiccup you'd say on the phone?
On the phone?
Yeah.
I like to have like ADHD or something. I'll call for like about an hour, and then I really get the stronger to do something else if they're not picking up the phone.
Mhm.
Like yesterday, I was dialing, and it was like everybody's answering, so I'm like, cool, let's just keep going.
Yeah.
And then today, I was dialing, I dialed from like 8 to about 9:30. I booked maybe one appointment. I'm like, I'm hungry. So that's
No, that's real though. That's real. And I think that more of us need to be able to talk to ourselves like that. Because I have the same self-talk. I feel the same way you do. And I'm supposed to be pretty good at dialing the phone. But being good at dialing the phone doesn't mean you want to do the phone. They don't go together. Does that make sense? Like the guy who's like, hey, you're really good at like building houses. Do you think he like enjoys building houses? Or he just likes the result that doing construction does for him? Exactly. Does that make sense? So it's like, I'm not like, oh, I'm so excited to get on the phone at 8. No, I hate it, dude. But how bad do you hate it? Do you see what I'm saying? Because if you don't hate it enough, you will go to lunch. And then you will delay. It's going to be there regardless. Does that make sense? It's like that IRS letter comes and you ignore it. Oh, it's going to keep coming. It's like you just, okay, well, I decided out of mind. No, dude, it's only going to get worse. Interest gets higher. It's just, it's a mess. So it's like take those same types of things into your own personal business in your life. And the interest rate is, in your business is your no cash flow, right? So as no cash flow happens, you get no leads. All right? So our interest is stress. Does that make sense? So you stress yourself out with this interest of delaying dialing the phone. It's like the best time to dial the phone is not a time, a day. It is right when you think about it. Because any minute, hour you spend after you know you should be dialing is crap. Gary, like if you know, hey, I'm supposed to be dialing at 8, right? And you're like, all right, well, I'm going to go do this and I'll get back to it like 12. For that next 4 hours, you can't be focused on whatever the hell you're doing. Because and you're like, oh, I'm just going to pack this up. That makes sense? And what'd you do earlier? You washed your car. You know what I mean? You mowed the lawn, and it's like brown. You're like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Does that make sense? You're like, I don't even have a front yard. You know? You're doing laundry. You're like, I never do laundry. Like, it's just, but you do things.
Yeah.
All right, there's the first one where this lady kills this guy on the beach, and the second one is like little kid. It's like 13-year-old. He looks like he's like 7, but he's 13. He's really like 21. You know how actors do. Like 21-year-old who looks 8 but plays a 13-year-old. So he's in this movie, and like he kills 2 other people, right? And they're trying to figure out, well, something happened to him. Something happened to him. And they're going, dude, he knows right from wrong at 13. Does that make sense? Like he knew what he was doing. And I think all of us in this room, we know what we're doing when we're not being productive on the phone. We know that the answer is we need to buy more leads, but we're stressing ourselves out trying to call the same ones. Does that make sense? So your frustration could easily be solved with a solution that you know, I need more leads, but you try to ring them out. Worst thing you can do with leads is try to ring your leads out. Sean, I never did it because Sean, like you being an officer with Sean, it's just not going to happen. Does that make sense? Like he like threw leads on me. I didn't even know. My first lead bill was like $1,200, and I didn't even know it. But I made $8 grand. So I was like, oh, no big deal, right? But it was just down. So you got to make sure you're getting leads every single week. And here's another lead thing to go like not like with the prayer thing. Not just when you need leads. See, a lot of us get leads when we need them, and when you need them is when you're broke, and when you need them is when your rent, mortgage is due. That's when you need them. Does that make sense? So how about just always have your stuff on automated? When we first started Family First Life, I was talking to Wetmore. I struggled at Family First Life when we started, like really bad. There was other people who had higher business acumen. They understood business and stuff. Like Mike, he understood business. Well, I didn't understand no business. I understood how to take these leads and go sit down with middle Americans and sell life insurance, period. So when we started Family First Life and we had to drop our own mail, we had to lock out counties, we had to do all this independent stuff, I failed miserably. Miserably. I went from the #1 producer at another deal, or close, to like the number 50 here. Purely because I was not a good business them. They just had it coming in. Does that make sense? And I think a lot of us, if we are struggling or you're just starting off in this business, you've got to get your things set up to where they're just coming in regardless. And you're ordering your 50 or 60 Facebook leads, even if your order of 50 from the previous week isn't filled yet. Does that make sense? Because it will get filled. All right, and there's no such thing. Has everybody been in a situation where they felt like they had too many leads?
Not yet.
So everybody just answer my question. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. Money. You know what I mean? How much? $400. I got 20 of them. Okay, you're gonna fail. You're gonna fail. You know, if that's your first set, if that's a filler set, all good. But if that's if that's what you're relying on for you to get out there and make it happen, you're better off, like Grayson said, going in that Mail Pro, get you some $1, $3 leads, because 20 leads with no experience is, even 20 leads with experience. You give me 20 leads, you get, what's your name again? You're not as new. Who's newer than her? Who's newer than 3 months? What's your name, ma'am? Gina? How are you? Dominique. So if we can get the same 20 leads, and we probably have fairly the same result out of 20 leads. Does that make sense? Because the law of large numbers only really starts happening when you get, like, once you get over this hump of like brand new. I'm speaking from a brand new lead perspective because I know nothing else. If you're like, how many older leads should I get? As many as you can get. I remember one time I got 150 leads in 1 week. Now this is when they were free till Friday. You hear me? Program free till Friday. And I got 100 leads. I didn't know what to do with them. Okay, now I'm gonna lead into what to do with all these leads too. Because sometimes you can get so many leads, you paralyze yourself. Yeah. Because you can't effectively call them enough. So you have 100 leads and you're like, I got nobody picking up the phone. Yeah, because you're trying to call 100 leads at one time. So you gotta I take no more than 20 to 30 leads out each dial session. Or segment, I like to say. Because a segment to me is, any of these work? Because the name of the game when you're dialing the phone is to get people to pick up the phone. That's it. So why do I do this? I do it because so I can get people to pick up. I hate dialing so much, Don. I want to be done in like an hour or 2. And you can be. You can be. When people go dial a day, I go, wow. What are you doing? All day? Like you had a lunch break? You laugh, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Sean, I mean, if we ever did that, you know, coming up with Sean, he'd be like, what are you doing here so long? Shut up and get, you know what I mean? Like, just, what are you doing? Like, do you enjoy doing this? Like, I hate it so much, Jay. I really do, Grayson. I don't like calling strangers up. I don't like doing it. And then you get pissed off and bothered. See, what it is I don't think a lot of us get pissed off and bothered. See, like, you hit your numbers, but I think dialing sometimes can take a lot of your time. Like, y'all like want to live a life, right? Yeah. Like, live a life, like, go with your family, do stuff, you golf, go do that. Like, whatever you do, you want to do that, right? You don't want Mondays and Thursdays to be, all I did today was dial the phone, right? So how do you do that? And then the reason it takes you all day is because you're playing a game of when to call people. It's not because you're not working. It's because you're like, well, I called them earlier. All right, this took like 7 years of dialing to figure, Grayson, like this is, you ever start dialing, I feel like I've dialed the phone so much that like I could hear in the ring the type of person it's gonna be. It's so weird. It's so weird. Like right when they say hello, I'm like, I know if I got it or not. And I sit back and I remember when I started, I'd see Sean dialing the phone and I'd just be like, oh my God. I was on the phone one time, I'm arguing with this lady. That's the number one thing you don't do. Okay, don't argue with people. So I'm arguing. This is year 1, okay? Year 1 is when you argue. After that, you don't do it no more. But I'm arguing on the phone. So I'm like, yes, you did fill it out. It says it right here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sean's walking by. He goes, dude, what are you doing? And I'm trying to book an appointment. He goes, yeah, hang up. But anyways, our job is simple. We got to get you the information out. There's a guy out there in North Carolina who could help you out with it. And he books the appointment. He totally ignores what she says and just keeps it pushing. And that's what I learned during that. See, when you're arguing, you're acknowledging everything that they say. They say something, you tell them how they did it. They say something, you tell them that. That never works. So right when they start, he just talked right over her and says, hey, so here's what we're going to do is he's going to come out there tomorrow, drop this off to you. Well, okay. See, our population, if you just take control, they fall in line. If you're not in control, they act out. That's it. All right, so we want to get people to pick up the phone. All right, so when I go through dialing, I want to take 20. 20 is better than 30. I just go with no more than 30, okay? But I want to call these people as much as possible in a short period of time. Now, I know people do it differently if what you're doing is working or if what you're doing is getting better. May not be where you want to be right now, but you're getting better. Don't change it, okay? But I like to go the first time through, I call them once. There's people who call them 3 times in a row right off the rip. I don't do that, okay? I call brand new leads. I just figure they may have missed it. I think it's kind of weird to call somebody 3 times in a row on the first time you call them. Whatever, if it's working, like I said, this is my opinion, okay? So first time through, 1 time. But I only got 20 leads, so I fly through them. Does that make sense? I think we call 3 times in a row because we're calling 50, 60, 70 leads at a time and we're thinking we're never gonna get back to this first one. But if you only had 15 or 20 leads, you wouldn't have any problem flying through them and going back after 12 minutes.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So the first time through, 1 time. I'm gonna get 1, maybe 3 people to pick up first time through. Damn, nobody's picking up the phone, right? So we think, maybe it's not a good time. Maybe I should wait a little bit. Now this is when dial days start to happen. This is how dial days happen. It's an effect, okay? So you go, okay, so you call them once, I'm like, okay, well let me pick up another 20 or 30, whatever the case may be. Let me get my order leads. Let me try those leads out. And you start shuffling around all these different things, looking for that. I'm like, no, the answer is this activity and just having your activity right, okay? So first time through, you're gonna get 1 to 3. So now we got 17, 18 leads left. Second time, I'm calling twice in a row. All right, now the first time through, I'm letting it ring all the way through because I want to know if William goes by Bill. I want to know if Janice goes by Jan. That's the only reason I'm listening to the voicemail the first time through. I want to sound like that I know them. So it's almost like a gift when they don't pick up the first time. So now next time I call, I can be very familiar. I can be their friend. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, so if it's Calvin and on his thing he goes, Cal, I call him up, hey Cal. Now he's like, I know you, bro. If I go Calvin, he's like, nobody calls me that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like really pay attention to the voicemails the first time through. The second time through, I'm calling them 4 times in a row. I mean, I'm calling it, let it ring 4 times. All right, I don't let it ring because time, you guys. Like think about all the time, Grayson, that's taken away from your son by you listening to rings. Just rings. Just dial. Dude, we just called him 5 minutes ago, didn't pick up. Let it ring 4 times, hang up, call him right back. What that does right there, that type of pattern, gets people to go, oh, this is a human. They didn't just let it go to voicemail. They're curious. If I called you at 9:15, okay, or what time? Was it 1:30 now? All right, about 1:30, okay? I called you at 1:30. 1 time, you're like, I don't know this number, California number, I don't know what this is. 8 minutes later, I call you, let it ring 4 times, hang up. You're like, oh, it didn't go to voicemail. That's kind of weird. Then I call you right back. Now you're curious as hell. Like, who is this? But you know what they don't say? They don't pick up the phone and say, who's this? But you know what they say? Hello. Hello. They know what we're worried about is them being pissed off. That's what we're worried about. Okay? So now this time through, I'm going to get another 2 to 4 to pick up the phone. So now I got 3 to 7 people who've picked up out of 20 to 30 leads. All right? Third time through, be ready for callbacks because now they're going to start calling you back. All right? So now these people have gotten calls 3 times within 15 minutes. Who does that? I'm asking, like, does anybody call the leads like that often, that soon? Okay? So you're gonna get 2 to 4 to pick up this time through. Now you got 15, 20 leads left, okay? Now this time through, I'm calling them all 2, 3 times. Now I do my 3 times in a row. Now it's 3 times in a row action. Call you up, but I don't let it go all the way either. It's all about time here. If I wait for it to go to voicemail on everybody I talk to, I've doubled my phone time.
Yeah.
I've doubled it. So it's like these little 15 seconds here, 20 seconds here that we're taking, listening to rings, doing whatever, it adds up. Adds up, adds up, adds up. And that's kind of you to be calling somebody back. So now I call them all twice in a row or 3, and there's going to be some callbacks, and I'm going to get another 2 to 4 to pick up. So now I got 5 to 11. All right? And I'll probably get some more there because I'll probably get some callbacks. But my goal before I pick up another set of leads is to get, if I got 20, to get 10 to pick up. If I got 30, to get 15. I want half the people to pick up the phone. They could pick up and say, I don't care. I just want to pick up. Because a new agent or somebody who's struggling, that's the reason, is that we're not talking to enough people. Because when do you get good at the phone script? When you get pissed off and bothered. When do you get pissed off and bothered? After you've talked to a lot of people. You can't fake it. You know what I mean? Like I've heard Sean go, hey, the attitude is pissed off and bothered. You have an $11 an hour job, $10 an hour, whatever minimum wage is in your state, that's how much you get paid. You hate your job. Does that make sense? And that's the tone you want to have with people when you're calling them. You know? So this right here, repeated. Now, with 10, 20, 30 people to pick up, as a new agent, like you're much better saying, hey, I got an agent called me the other day. She goes, I need some help on the phone. I go, okay, cool. How many people did you talk to? She goes, 2. I go, we have nothing to talk about. She goes, well, they said this. Because I think that's my job. I'm like, well, that's my job. I got to teach you how to do this. So I'm gonna. And John's really good at this. He doesn't waste no time with stuff like that at all. I got to learn something about that. He wastes no time. You'll say something. I'm struggling on the phone. He'll be like, how many dollars you make? You'll be like 30. He'll be like, well, that's like, I don't know, 10 minutes of work. Boo-hoo, somebody had cancer. You know what I mean? I'm like, God, and I'll sit there forever and try to just coach you through it. Like, what am I coaching you through right now, dude? Just, go to work. So, this right here is uncomfortable. Okay? It's uncomfortable. But when you see the result that people aren't angry, all right, they're not upset. I had one lady, I called her, she says, and this is any time too, you can call me anytime. I called her, she was on this last one, so she got probably 7 calls within a half hour. She picks up on the 7th one. Actually, she calls me back. And she goes, who is this? I go, this is Dom with the Senior Benefits Center. You sent us a form on Facebook about if you... I come off, who is this? Remember the form on Facebook? Do you remember that? Yeah. So, and when you get callbacks too, see, what I like about, I ran like a lot of different types of leads, but once I found something I liked, that's what I ran. Like, I like final expense. Like, if I was in the field, I'd run 1,000% final expense. 1,000%. Does that mean I'm in and out of the house in 12 minutes? It makes no sense. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. I get it before when that's all we had, but not today. Renewals. Whew. Renewals. Your whole agency.
Yeah.
Renewals. Forever. Term. One time. Just one time. And older people, they just seem like, oh, it's easier to talk to.
Yeah. I agree.
It just seems very. I think mortgage protection has like a suit and tie kind of approach. You feel better than that. You're like, oh, it's mortgage protection. they have a house. I'm like, I don't care. When it goes into my account, you know what it says? Cash. They'll say nothing about final expense of mortgage protection. My wife does not know the difference. Okay? So don't sell yourself on, on what everybody else is doing or whatever you think is the way. Does that make sense? Because the way is just, let's book 30 appointments. And it's a lot easier to book 30 appointments with final expense leads, in my opinion. Yes?
You touched on a little bit about the tonality, how you responded to a lady.
Yes.
Can you talk more about that? Because I think that's an area where a lot of agents struggle.
Yes.
As far as the attitude that they should have and how it should come across when they speak.
Sean always worked with me with this early on. I would call people and I'd have the same tone and posture, and it would only work with certain types of people. Okay? And he always said, meet people where they are. Meet people where they are. And he goes, I was like, well, what do you mean? And he's like, well, if Mary picks up the phone and she's like, hello, I have to go, Mary? I can't go, Mary? Which is naturally what I want to do. So Mary, hello, Mary? See, that's going to turn Mary off. But, hello, Mary? Yeah, who's this? Right? Or hello? George? If it's, hello? Hi, may I speak to George? Smoked. Does that make sense? Like, you're smoked, yeah, and you wonder, like, when we're new, a lot of the mistakes are within, like, the first 2 seconds on the phone call. No lie. It's how you say their name or lack thereof or too much of it. Does that make sense? It's how you say the Mortgage Protection Center. Like, it's like you just really have got to just mirror that person and then get them. Now, I'm not doing it the whole conversation. I see you, Gracie. Well, I'm doing it the whole phone, but I have to initially get Jay to be on my level. If Jay sounds like he just got off a jackhammer, I better be right there with him. Does that make sense? Or else, it's not going to work. And you only have one shot on the phone. I promise you. Now, you'll get good to where a person can hang up on you and you'll call them back and book it or something like that. But day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, not happening. Not happening. Does that make sense? Gary, you're probably to the point now to where somebody's hanging up on you, you call them back, let them know you're not a telemarketer or something like that, and book them. Day 1, that wasn't happening.
Right.
Does that make sense? So you really have got to really just take that from the get-go that, hey, I got one shot. You know, and with the call-in leads, okay? We have a lot of different call-in, or people running call-in leads right now. Do you guys like them? All right, I'm gonna change that. All right. So, I'm basically, if there was a lead that I didn't like, I tell you I didn't like it. Like, remember, we don't make money on the sale of leads here.
Yeah.
Like, just remember that, like, all the time. If you ever hear somebody go, this lead's good, like, it must be good. Now, that I was at another company, they said every lead was good. And that was a lie. Because they were selling leads. So why would you ever say one didn't work? Does that make sense? So, these call-in leads, I think the biggest mistake that we're making is the way we're looking at it. Conrad Pulowski is a Hall of Fame producer. Okay? Back-to-back years. But next thing you know, he starts running them. Now he loves Final Smith. So that's why I did. So if you ever have people on your team like, I don't like this lead, just get them for them. Just get them for them. If they don't run them, you run them. Somebody else will run them. It's never a lost cause. Does that make sense? Yeah. But you're going to force their hand because, you know, I had a bunch of mortgage junkies. So I just said, hey, take this. You know what I mean? So I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Call-in leads. There we go. Call-in leads. So you got the gold and you got the silver, right? Now, in my opinion, they're exactly the same. Does anybody else feel that way? Good. Okay? And this is why. When you get that postcard in the mail, see, a lead to me hanging up after 2 prompts is the exact same as the person who completes 6. Because the act of qualifying it as a lead is them reading the form, dialing, I think it's probably, it's like a 9-digit number, 10-digit number, and they listen to the rings, and it says mortgage protection. And then when we call the ones that we know didn't go through the prompts, our script changes. We start talking about how they didn't fill it out, or if they, I don't know if you're really interested or not, but you kind of hung up. Like, dude, you're killing yourself right now. Does that make sense? Like, why are you doing that? 70% of your leads with those call-in leads are going to be the $5 ones. They're going to be, and I love that. And now Conrad's texting me. Look, he texted me the other day, so he goes, no, I'm not lying. It was just yesterday. He goes, call-in leads. Where's Conrad at? He goes, I can't get over how good call-in leads are. Best value out there. I was an idiot. You know, I said, truth. You were an idiot. No. No, but the thing is like I had leads like that like when EverQuote first came out. That was me. I was like, and now if I said who likes EverQuote, I'm like, but now I was just like you guys 6 months ago. I was like, I don't know about that. Does that make sense? But it was all the way how I was looking at it. Now these call-in leads are, I think, next to Facebook leads, I think they're the best leads you can get. I think next to mortgage leads, oh God, like a $5 mortgage lead, a $5, 70% of your mortgage leads are gonna be $5. And you know how much of the counties and stuff are open? A lot of them. Because if you see in this room, people didn't raise their hands saying that they like it, which means they're available. Does that make sense? So you want to be a new agent and get into the mortgage market with new leads? Calling leads is the way you do it. Not 60, 70 bucks a pop lead called BPL. It's not how you do it, in my opinion, when there's this availability out there for the calling leads. But if we look at them that way, so I called a lead up, and he goes, and it's on, if you guys ever go to our Facebook, our Golden State page, there's one if you type in call-in leads. So every time a new lead comes out, I test it. All right, so Conrad, you on, bro?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, dude, I got you in Atlanta right now, and we're talking about call-in leads. And I said you shot me a text yesterday saying, you know, how much of an idiot you were for not closing them or running them.
I was just talking about call-in leads myself.
Of course you were, because they're the best lead out. So we got about 60 people in this room right now who hate them.
Yep.
Okay, and remember, we make no money on leads. So if we're talking to you guys about this, it's because they work. So Conrad, Hall of Fame producer, talk to us about call-in leads, if you could.
Call-in leads are, I've been making like 80% of what I've been making each week is off of call-in leads. And I was like you guys there, in front of Dom there, that I hated the silver leads. But it was a mental barrier that I had. I imagined myself receiving a postcard and calling in, but I'm not the person who's responding to that kind of stuff. I would never call that number. But I put myself in their place, and if I heard an automated system like that, I'd hang up. And I thought that the reason that they were hanging up is because they didn't want it. That was my own mental block. But finally, between Dom and Zach Leffels and a couple of other people, I found out that the reason that they're hanging up is not because they don't want it. It's because they simply don't have the time. We live in a modern age. They don't want to be on the phone talking to a robot, but they still want it. And so when I finally decided to just give that, I literally had 200 of these leads that I was giving to my other agents, and I was telling them how good they were, but I wasn't dialing them. And so when I spoke to Zach Leffels, and he said, you know, I added this one line. I literally use the call-in leads have a script printed right on them, and I literally read almost everything exactly the same way. But on the silver ones, the ones where they hung up because they didn't want to be on the phone with the robot, but they still wanted the insurance. After they say, I'm going to get back to you about your mortgage protection options, if you're anything like me, you probably didn't even make it all the way through the call because it was an automated system. And they say, oh, yeah, I remember that call. And I just say, my job's simple. My job's your field underwriter on this. And I proceed. And I book them. And it stuns me. I'm elated every time I book one of these $5 leads on how I'm not getting any more kickback off of the $5 leads than I do with a brand new $57 direct mail mortgage protection lead. Wow. They both want it. And most of my business now is off of call-in leads. And you get so many of them too. And one more thing, John, before I get off the phone, I think you and I had talked about this before. It seems like there's less overlap with call-in leads. Keep in mind that when somebody has a mortgage or a refinance, that public data,
you're not going to have people going behind you.
All these companies are sending out paper mail, and there are people coming behind you. But for some reason, I find that the call-in leads, there's very little overlap. It's almost like the people
they're not the same person.
To call in on a postcard are not the same people who want to mail something back.
Correct.
They'll be like, I'll pick up the phone and call and find out what it's about and sign up for it, but I'm not going to mail something back. And I love that because it's like a unique set of participants. So, Dom, any other questions on that? I love them. They're my favorite lead.
Conrad.
One other thing. In one county, I got 120 leads. And out of those 120 leads, 46 of them were the gold ones at $36 a piece. 74 were silver. That's a total of 120 leads in a month. That cost me $2,039 for those 120 leads. $16.99 a lead. That's less than a third of the cost of a direct mail mortgage protection lead. I'll take that all day long. In fact, that's a Facebook lead. That's a Facebook lead,
yeah. Conrad, keep killing it, dude. I appreciate your help, dude. Later, man.
Wow.
And it's such a, and it's just opening yourself up to it, you know, and just changing your perspective on it. Yes, Grayson.
So can you tell everyone how to specifically buy these leads? Yeah.
Yes.
No,
Okay.
don't tell anyone. Just tell me.
All right, so you're gonna get with Sasha. All right, get with Sasha. She'll let you know. Some counties can actually be splitting up. Like we had, we were in Wake County in North Carolina, and there was actually enough produced there for 2 agents. Okay, and there was a lot coming in. So, but yeah, just get with Sasha and just say what's available. You know, I mean, I believe it's something that you can even want to travel to if there weren't any like right here. That you can travel to these at a very minimum expense. Do you know what I mean? So I wouldn't, like, maybe it wasn't a part of your weekly run, but maybe every other week you had a honey hole that got 50 call-in leads. You know? Yes.
So if you can get the newer quality
Yeah.
Sasha,
I got something to say too
which
about that.
quality are the ones on the CRM?
Okay, those are the silver ones. Those are the ones that were actual. All right, this is the jackpot right now. Okay, if once y'all convince yourselves that there's no difference in them, now you've just opened yourself up to thousands and thousands of those silver calls, and there's nobody else calling them. They didn't fill out a form. It's not like this form was being sold somewhere else. They didn't fill out. They didn't call into multiple agencies. So that's what he's talking about, to where there's nobody running behind you either. So here we all fighting over mortgage leads, and this other guy from X company and this company, oh, I wonder if I sell an HMS 150, but they're going to come in. Like, no. Over here, there's nobody coming behind them. 150 them all day. All day. Does that make sense? There's no, I get it. I know why we do what we do. Does that make sense? And it's like, but you're so worried, well, let me go with this one, 100, because no. No, but that's only in the mortgage market, though. See, so it's like all of us are trying to fight over the same pot. I'm like, there's one over here that nobody wants to mess with, and it's clean too. You know what I mean? It's real clean. But I love it. Those $1 silver leads, Stevie. They got 100 leads at $100. And Grayson, what if you're like, I'll match you? Here's 200. So you got 200 leads. Jermaine, how's a new agent with 200 leads? With the proper, and after they're brand new coming in, they have no perception of the lead, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys get where I'm getting at?
Yeah.
See, like right now, we're trying to change perception. New agents coming in, they have no perception. If you say it's good, it's good. If you show them how to do it, they'll do it. So there won't be any, well, I don't know. Like, did they go through all the prompts? They won't even know that. I don't even talk to new agents about the prompts and when they hung up, and that's stupid. Sean didn't talk to me about stuff like that. He didn't talk to me about anything negative that would ever get into my mind of me not making a sale recently. Ever. I moved to Connecticut. I went to Connecticut to live and learn, and I went out there and got my teeth kicked in. Literally. I was selling 30 grand a month in North Carolina, moved up to Connecticut and was selling 5, 10 with the same lead flow.
Wow.
And I go, Sean, why didn't you tell me that it was like this up here? He goes, dude, you would never came. He goes, but you're getting better now. I was like, yeah, dude, like nobody looks like me. He goes, yeah, no, it's gonna be tough, but you're gonna get better and you're gonna learn how to talk to everybody. And 2 months later, I was back up to 30, 40 grand a month. And I felt like I can sell anywhere. Does that make sense? But if he would have told me that going into it, I probably would have never went. If he was like, hey, Dom, you're probably like the only black person in like every house you go into. It's Connecticut, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just is what it is. I would have been like, I'm just gonna move back to California now. Like, you guys get what I'm saying, right? Like, but that definitely would have stopped me from doing that. But it helped me so much because he didn't tell me. And I found out when I was there. I was like, why'd you tell me? He's like, dude, you wouldn't have came. I was like, there you go. I got it, now I'm here. Now I can't leave. All right. So, call-in leads. All right, so I definitely hop on those. We went over how to get people to pick up the phone. Any questions arising from any of this? Is this helpful at all? I don't want to waste nobody's time. I promise you. All right, like I'd walk away right now and just go call resumes if you guys.
Hey
want.
Dom,
Like-
does it say in the CRM call-in leads? I mean, that's what it's called.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So when you print your leads, so Priscilla Carrasco, right? She sells like $250 a year. Okay. She is the first. She got me loving calling leads because I go, hey, do you know the difference between like the gold and silver? And she goes, what? She goes, what are you talking about? I go, yeah, like, you know, some of them go through the prompt, some of them don't. And she goes, what? She goes, and she had the lead order. She goes, where does it say that at? And I was like, oh shit, it doesn't say it on the form. It doesn't even say it on the form. So if you just go in your CRM, print your leads, and take your leads and go dial, you'll never know. And that's the thing. I was like, oh my gosh, she didn't even know. She doesn't. But if she did, it probably would have stopped her. Does that make sense? And that's just another example of maybe, you know, not unfolding everything is probably the best thing for people's profitability and confidence in this business. Because once you print them off, it don't say gold or silver on the lead. Name, number, call. You know, so that's my recommendation too. Once you're getting your calling leads, just print them off. You're not going to remember which one's gold or what's not. You may see it in your CRM, but you ain't going to remember once you're looking at your stack. Does that make sense? All right. Jeremy, what's going on, dude? Doing all right?
Doing awesome.
Right on. Who's building the team right now? Jermaine is, Gary, there's a lot of people. Cool. Any questions about that? Interviews? I've been doing a lot of interviews lately. On the phone, like phone interviews, calling resumes, initial calls too, not just following up with people who are already like just really going through that. So.
Question about building a team, because you brought it up. Curious to know did you start from the beginning, or was it a transition thing for you?
I started day one.
Got it.
Yeah.
Was
Started
it
day
more
one.
just warm market?
Yeah.
or
I didn't run a Craigslist or a ZipRecruiter for 2 years.
So did you go about that a certain way?
Craigslist or Warm Market?
Warm market.
Warm Market, yes. Sean hired them for me. So I sparked interest, said, hey, here's what I'm doing, here's my paychecks. And then they start asking me questions about it, and I quickly defer to my mentor. Quickly. Because at the beginning I started to talk, but they never saw me in that light, so it really wasn't effective. Like I could say that, but they know me as Dom, who they play baseball with, went to college. Like it's just not the same. You know what I mean? So when I talk good about Sean, that hey man, like I hear you, dude, I'm making like 15 grand a month right now. But Sean, he's been doing it a while. Much better articulating what we do, how we do it. I don't even do the hiring, man. Like, so how about I'm gonna have him call you? All right, now he's busy. When he calls you, you're gonna pick up the phone. Well, what time? Are you that busy? I don't know what time he's gonna call you, but if he calls you, it's an 860 number. Can you pick it up? I'll make sure I pick it up. See, the mistake that we make when we're teeing up our mentors and stuff is that we don't do stuff like that. You know what I mean? So like, hey, you want to talk to this person? Yeah, just give him a call. And then Grayson, if you hired him, you call him and they don't pick up the phone. I mean, if he does that 2 or 3 times, you don't want him to you don't want him to send you people no more. Does that make sense? But if we properly edify, and if you don't like the person, don't edify them. Edify somebody who you like and have them talk to them. Does that make sense? But talk good about whoever that person is, and then they will talk good about you, and then that will validate everything that you just told them. Does that make sense? So I quickly spark the interest, get with my mentor. Yes, Jeremy?
What's one thing that you think you've done different in the last 6 months to a year that's helped you grow?
Start looking in the mirror. What did I do to make this happen, or what can I do to get better so that this doesn't happen again? I've been doing a lot more of that versus not blaming, but excuses, I guess. You know, oh, it's because this happened. You know what I mean? They did this. Like, no, you hired them. So what happened in our relationship to make? Does that make sense? Like, what? And it's all about me. What can I change to get a better view of me? Does that make sense? So I think that's a big thing within the last 6 months. And also getting back to the basics, Jeremy. I was hiring, I had 3 full-time staff, all right, and we weren't growing. All right, I had 3 full-time staff, not growing. And I fired them all. And then I said, you know what? I got to get to work. So I fired 3, hired 1, and then hired myself as 2. So now I'm in the office 70 hours a week, calling resumes, doing the work, not just going. I was sitting in the gym. I was sitting back going, man, I want to hire an admin, right? And that was just me being lazy, straight up. I want to hire another admin. Why? Because I don't want to call resumes. Why? Because I can pay somebody to do it. Why? Because we're just not going to grow. It was the dumbest thing ever, Grayson. So dumb. I was like, I'm just going to do it. So about 6 weeks ago, I started doing the work. I get to the office at 6. I start dialing resumes at 7. I set some up on the East Coast so I can start dialing that early, and then they start rolling in. I call resumes all day long, and I've never done that to that capacity, ever. So I'm just back to what I was doing. Dude, the delegating game wasn't working. Just wasn't working. It's stupid. It's not like just straight up like guys. I was like doing just like, what are you doing? So I had to look in the mirror, dude, and just say, hey, I'm going to work, man. I stopped. Just my wife would say, hey, you know what? Can you just come home and watch Cam? Stop doing that. I have a job. Does that make sense? I took my independence a little bit too freely, if that makes sense. And I was like, you know what? I've got to be there. So I'm the first one in my office, last one to leave, unless something comes up and I got to go run or do something. But it's not as loose as it was. Do you know what I mean? And I'm just talking to more people. It just gets me more excited too. You stop talking to people, Jeremy, and you lose your juice. That's what I found. I lost my juice. I lost my excitement. You know what I mean? I wanted it to work, but I wasn't excited to get it. Does that make sense? It's like you just want it to work. You know it can work, but if you're not excited about it, what are you doing? And talking to people every day. Now we're doing our business development meeting. We're doing that every week. You know what I mean? So we got one of those every Thursday. At night. And we're doing it at 6 p.m. every Thursday. And what we're doing is, it's our, and you guys, you'll see that we're in we've done 4 weeks of the business development. And what we've been doing is taking the hiring a little bit more structured. Okay, so like before I'd hire some people, hey, man, we pay for your class, yada, yada, yada. Maybe they'd get in, maybe they wouldn't. Maybe they'd start, maybe they didn't. And now we're taking it more of like an approach where there's a first, second interview. There's a scholarship. So now we're calling the class a scholarship. Okay? So we have a scholarship that we offer. Okay? Now in order to get the scholarship, we have to meet face to face. Now this is from our local in San Diego. Okay? So I tell them their second interview is a face-to-face group interview. I don't say business development meeting. I don't say anything like that. It's a group interview. Starts at 6, and you've been invited. And if we are on the same page at the end of that interview, we will offer you a scholarship. Dude, people are showing up. Does that make sense? If it would just come out of this meeting, I don't know if they show up. Actually, I tried that. They don't show up. Okay? They don't show up. But people want more of a structured job type of interview. Does that make sense? Like, okay, they want to, I'm getting something, I'm a part of something. I think what we have here at Family First Life with the class, you guys know other companies like you pay for contracting? Literally, and it's like not even like, not normal. It's very, huh? Yeah, like it was very normal for that. But I think we take it for granted so much that when we're hiring people, we don't explain to them how valuable that stuff is. And that's myself included. I was just talking about the free class, like I pay for it. And I just talk about it like it's no big deal. Like, yes, it is a big deal.
Right.
$6,000 a year. Times 5 years, 30 grand. We've already put into that. It's a big deal. But no, here we are. So, yeah, we'll put you in the class. No, it's valuable. And we got to slow down and talk people and walk people through that so now they know what they're getting themselves into from a value point of view. Yes, ma'am.
How do you distinguish which ones you're going to actually bring in and work with the scholarship? And then how much follow-up do you provide as far as sharing them on?
Okay. I will put anybody who I like, and even if I don't like them, if they follow directions. Does that make sense? They can get into the class. If they show up to the interview, they say it's all good. It's no problem doing that. Now, following up with people once they get into class, we check that student activity report. So if they're not moving, I'm not gonna revive them. I'm not trying to, does that make sense? We're not trying to do CPR with people.
So that's where
We'll
you
put them
follow
on our
up.
email blast and stuff, so they'll get emails, they're in the Facebook group. But the ones who are progressively moving, or we saw that we're moving and maybe slow down, those are the ones we check in on. Does that make sense? So you guys all get a report, or your manager does. So if you're putting people in class, ask your manager for the class report. It comes out every day. So if you want to know where your agents are without guessing, because if you ask them, they're going to lie, just so you know.
Oh, yeah.
You ask, where are you at in the course? I'm halfway through it. You look, and you're like, dude, they haven't even started. Gosh, right? And you spent 40 minutes talking about how great they're going to be. So, but check that report out. And I think, you know, and seeing people, man, I know if I wouldn't have gone to meetings in this business consistently when I started Jeremy, I wouldn't be in the business. We can say whatever we want to say about wherever we were, but it kept me connected. Does that make sense? When I was having a crappy week and I walked in and saw somebody showing the business plan, I walked out having a good week. Does that make sense? It always works. And seeing people face to face. Sean wasn't gonna hire him. I wouldn't have started this thing by just talking to him on the phone. Kidding me? I don't know him. White dude from Connecticut. What's up? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm just like, who are you? And why are you talking so fast? You know what I mean? So he came down to North Carolina and we sat down and talked. And then I was like, I'm in. But I was not in just by conversation with him on the phone. Does that make sense? So I think in the business development meeting has given us a good way to get face to face with people before they interview and stuff. It just seems that they've been more of a quality candidate versus the person who would have just done it if I sent them something and never got really uncomfortable. Does that make sense? So, but it's from 6 to 7 and they're out of there. Yes.
Hey, Doc, so,
I'm sorry, Leticia.
is somebody had me?
Yeah, Leticia.
Go.
He's a good guy. He'll let you go.
Alright, so I wanted to know, how do you conduct your interview when you're doing just someone that's licensed and then someone that's not licensed?
Okay.
And then after they get their contracts and they're good to go, like what's the next process? How do you walk them through actually getting on the phone and getting on the phone quickly?
Okay. So you want to do the first part, like the difference in the interviews between licensed and unlicensed?
Yes.
Okay. They're kind of similar. My phone calls are like, time is big on me, big to me. I don't want to be on the phone for more than 10 minutes. And if I am, it is what it is. But I'm conscious that I want to keep it short. But if you're licensed, let's start with unlicensed. If you're unlicensed, my first question, so check in, especially with unlicensed. So if I'm calling Jay up, right? So I'm calling Jay up. Jay, it's Dom with Family First Life. Got your resume on ZipRecruiter. Is this a bad time for you, Jay?
No, it's good.
It's not? Okay, the ad you responded to, Jay, said 100% commission insurance agent. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes.
That is. Okay, are you currently in insurance? So it said on here you're unlicensed.
I'm insured.
You're unlicensed,
yes,
right?
yes.
Okay, what prompted you to look into the insurance industry, man? It doesn't sound like great. I love it, but on the face of it, doesn't sound too glorious. So what got you looking into it?
No, you work for yourself.
Have you ever worked for yourself?
No.
You haven't. Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing going into business right now?
It just depends. I'm looking to work for myself now.
You're open to it?
Yeah.
Okay. The reason I'm asking, Jay, is because sometimes people just fill out stuff and they just fill out stuff. I just want to be very clear with you that it is commission-based. You will be your own business owner, okay? And we're able to teach you that, but I don't want to go move forward with the interview if we weren't on the same page with that part. Does that make sense?
Cool.
Would you like to proceed?
Sure.
Cool. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think if I take that approach with 100 people, 50 of them aren't going to go that way. But if I don't take that approach, I'm going to spend 10 minutes with somebody who's not even interested in commission-based sales.
Right.
Who doesn't even know that they're going to be owning their own business. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and that's a big ZipRecruiter thing because people will just click and apply to 1,000 jobs. But you take your job so seriously, you want to give everybody information. Does that make sense? It's like you have to really look at your market and see, who am I talking to? How do I get to the meat of what it is? Doesn't mean I'm going to hire Jay or not. Does that make sense? It just means that I'm not going to waste time. And then with the license, one second, dude. With the license, let's act like he's licensed. So, ring.
Hello?
Jay?
Yep.
Jay, Dom here, Family First Life. Got your resume on ZipRecruiter. It says here, the ad said we're looking for licensed agents, 100% compensation, investor renewals. That's you, right?
Yep.
How long you been licensed, Jay?
5 years.
5 years. I've been in the industry 8. How long did it take you to make $100 grand?
I have.
You haven't. Man, is that what you want to do?
Yes.
Okay. That's our goal here at Family First Life. Have you ever made $100 grand and just not outside of life insurance or anything?
No.
Okay. What's your goal income wise?
200.
200 grand?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now 5 years in the industry and not doing that, what do you think has kind of held you back from doing that?
That's a good question. Me?
You?
Yeah.
Right? Was it like time and schedule, family? You know what I mean?
This one up, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, kind of like that.
What got you in the position now that you believe that you're going to be disciplined?
I don't know, just tired, ready to start making some money.
I hear that. All right. Have you ever worked for yourself?
I have not.
Okay, so you were captive when you were an agent?
I was.
Got it. Okay. It's going to be a little different. You ever worked leads before? That's a good thing, just so you know. All right. If you said yes and not made $100 grand, I'm not a problem.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But if you say no,
Right.
You see what I'm saying, Grayson's like, I want to figure who are we talking to? What's this like? Like, what's in there? What do they got? Does that make sense? All right, so you've never worked leads before. That's great. A lot of people who have worked leads before and come to us, they suck. Okay, so the good thing is you got a license and you've never done this, so you got a good shot. Final expense and mortgage protection. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes.
You have. What do they do? If I said final expense, what would that mean to you?
Burial.
There you go. You got it.
Yeah.
All right. Because some people I ask that and they say yeah, and they really don't know. So I'm just checking to see if you're smart.
Right.
Okay. So and I'll do just that. All right. I want to let them know. I want to check. You know, honestly, it's like during these interviews they can be so structured. A lot of my interviews they go, I've never had an interview like that.
Mm-hmm.
They go, I've never had like somebody just ask me so many questions like that and like, but we want to be different. You know what I'm saying? My interviews aren't crazy structured. It's not like first I say this, then I say this, then I lead into this.
Depends on
It's like it depends on them and the vibe they get off and how it's working out. Sometimes I have the best interviews with people that I didn't hire. Like I didn't hire them and I go, damn, like they helped me out a bunch. Like I kind of like where she's focused on and where she's going. This ain't the place, but she's gonna win. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I like that those types of conversations. And if it was only about me getting them to do this, I wouldn't feel that way. Does that make sense? So I'm not just trying to sell them to do Family First Life. I just want to let them know, hey, here's and a lot of people you're talking to are unlicensed, never been in business before. You know what I mean? So really, you're just kind of, and what you'll see is some of those people will come back because you didn't pressure them, because you didn't make it seem like it was all about Family First Life and the best things in sliced bread. I believe we are, but right off the street, they don't care. They don't, you know what I mean? They don't know that, and everybody's saying that. Everybody in our space is saying they're the best thing. Everybody's saying they have the best leads. Now, when people go, hey, how are your leads? I'm like, they're the same leads everybody else uses. We just know how to sell. That's my question. I don't say the leads are good. I don't say we have the best leads, because that's a lie. We all use the same leads. We're just good at using them. What do you guys specialize in? We specialize in using our life insurance licenses. I get away from all the stupid stuff that's gonna get people to not do it. Does that make sense? Because all they're, oh, I heard you guys, do you guys do mortgage protection and final expense? I heard the mortgage premiums are a lot higher than final expense. You guys hear that, right? 1,000 times a year. And I'm like, oh my gosh, another one? Another one. Like, it doesn't matter. And if I entertain that, Grayson, and really go into it, now I get it. I get it. But it's not enough for us to talk about it. Does that make sense, Jeremy? It's not enough. And you can't duplicate it either. On the final expense end, you can duplicate it all day long. It's everlasting.
Yeah.
I mean, you get really good at selling mortgage. Teach your people how to do that with your lead flow. They won't have your lead flow. So you're teaching them something that only you can do. It's not smart.
Yeah.
That's why Sean adopted final expense so hardcore, because he knew that's the only way my company will grow. It's the only way. Why all these other companies staying where they are and the rich just keep getting richer and the agents just keep turning over is because they only use mortgage leads. They're not dipping in the Facebook lead. They're not doing that. Well, first off, they don't have anybody who can teach it. Does that make sense? And they're making some money reselling leads. Why? Like, why would I even do that? You know, know, so we're in a very, very, very good spot. So those are the things I talk about with leads. I don't say we have the best leads, I just tell them the truth about leads. I tell them like what I found out when I started doing leads and figuring out the companies and vendors and things like that. They're like, yeah, this company actually creates the leads. And I'm like, yeah, that's what they tell you. But they actually work with the same vendor we do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They tell you that. But this is the truth. And I think more of this telling people the truth when you're interviewing versus whether they're going to do it or not. I heard Precious Smith say, we try a lot more not to hire than we do to hire. And I think a lot of us are the complete opposite. As they pick up the phone, we want to figure out a way to get them to do what we're doing. I don't have a car. Don't worry, you can take Uber. No, you can't. I've been there, dude. I've done that. I've said it. Okay? So if you guys are saying, no, I'd never do that, you're lying. Yes, you did. You definitely did. You told them they could take bus, MARTA. You're like, hey, dude, you just hop on MARTA. You know what I mean? They'll just take you around. You'll be able to run one appointment a day. You know, like, you know, it's just, but like we try so hard to make it work. It shouldn't be that hard. You see, it should not be that hard. Sean didn't talk to me, but like I just think about it all the time. Like a lot of the stuff I talk to with agents, I've never had conversations with Sean, or never even heard him saying that he had those conversations because he understands the value, his value. See, we have to understand our value as managers, and it's not just underwriting guides and lead support. It's not, and I think, you know, a lot of us, that's kind of where we think, oh, I gotta buy leads. I bought leads. Oh, I went over to the agent guys, told them what they approved for. Does that make sense? Like, Sean didn't do that with me. I didn't call him about, hey, they have HIV. He'd be like, read the guide. I'm not the agent guide. Conrad Pulaski, I told him, I said, dude, you're like a walking agent guide. That's the only they would just call, like, dude, you have so much more value than that. Like, you think your value is them asking you when they can go open a book and get the same answer. Does that make sense? And I think that we'll adapt that and start doing the, you know, and I think when you're building this thing, and you asked about like when I started, I'd be promoting the hell out of my paychecks. That's it. I don't know about Zip or whatever anybody's doing with Zip or Craigslist for you, but I didn't do any of that. I just had so many of my friends getting into this. It was, how old are you?
30.
How many of your friends are licensed right now? Not enough.
No.
That's a problem. See, you're trying to build a business with strangers. It's tough. You know what I mean? You still need the strangers, right? They're going to come in, you know. But you need people that you know. You need people that you know that are like you. Does that make sense? And I know John and Mike. I know they'll definitely help you out with that. You know what I mean? But open it up. Does that make sense? I think there's some people in there that you think they're all set, that they're good, but they're not. I had coaches that I actually hired one of my coaches from college, and I thought he was all good. Tom Holliday, Matt Holliday's dad, right? So he's my pitching coach at NC State. I'm thinking, your son's a professional baseball player. Like, you wouldn't need to do anything like this, right? And he's calling me up, hey, you still doing that insurance thing? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, all right, well, I ain't gonna be able to pass the test, right? But, you know, what can we do? You know how that ended. We worked something out, okay? We worked it out. So basically, but he's just a guy that I know, right? He knows I'm in insurance, and now he's like a recruiter. So now anybody baseball-wise, leaving baseball or anything like that, he knows that they're going to call Dom. Does that make sense? So, and we work it out. Because we're independent. Does that make sense? So, it's a very, very, but I always think, why would I talk to Tom Holliday about this? I mean, his son has been playing pro ball for 15 years. They're good. But you never know. You know? Yes, sir? So I license, unlicensed, and then get them moving. Well, I just plug them into, I like to plug the trainings. Okay, like you guys got this office here. Like I have them come by here. I make sure that they're here, and I want to get them leads ASAP. I want to know who's the now agent with Leticia. Because everybody, if we treat everybody the same, it just won't work. We need to know, like, hey, so if they get they're in contracting, right? And this is not a pre-appointment state, so I'm asking. So if I'm, what's your name?
Cassie.
Cassie. All right, so I'm talking to Cassie, and she's finishing her contracts, right? She goes, yeah, I just finished my contract, sent them in. Cassie, I'm gonna get you some leads today, all right, and you'll be on the phone tomorrow morning. Do you have any problem with that? No. See, no, I'm with her. Now, you have 10 people, you say that same thing, they're all not gonna say no. Does that make sense? So I wanna go, hey, do you have a problem? And someone will go, I'm not really ready. So now you know, let me back up. They're not ready. Does that make sense? And even if they say, I want products and stuff, now if they're younger, I may talk to them a little bit. Does that make sense? I may go, hey, you don't need to know those products. Does that make sense? But if they've been in business a little bit or a little bit older and they think products is their issue, there's nothing I can do to change that. Right there, I can't change that. They believe that they need to know products. I gotta let them learn products on their time, not asking me. Does that make sense? And the mistake we make is that we try to get those people to be now and we turn them off because they're not ready. Does that make sense? So ask people, are you ready? If I get you leads today, you'll be able to get on the phone tomorrow? Yeah, if they answer real fast, you got one. Does that make sense? They're a little timid about it, then you might have one. They quickly say no, you don't have one. Does that make sense? I'm just like, life's all about asking questions. You know what I mean? Come to the office tomorrow, let's dial. And they're like, no. Like, I'm going on vacation next week. What are you talking about? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're not even ready. You see what I'm saying? Like, they're not in the mode that you're in. Does that make sense? So, and there's no right or wrong to it. It doesn't make the person who's not ready now wrong. It just means they're not ready right now. And don't turn them off by trying to make them ready right now. I've done that enough. Okay? Don't do it. All right? So just ask people questions to see where they are and see if they're the now agent, is what I do. And then from there, if they're willing and ready, you know what to do with them after that. Yes?
So just going back to like the Conrad example, he's like the walking agent guy.
Yeah.
And instead of answering every single question an agent asks, you point them to the right resources, right? So
Right.
they can be independent,
Correct.
find answers on their own. How do you do that without turning them away and doing that nicely?
Ask me a question. Give me a question that maybe an agent asks.
For example, hey, Dom, I'm with a client here, they take lisinopril, they had a heart attack, yesterday. I don't know which product to write.
Now, there's two different ways you're going to answer this, okay? Sometimes people call in the home because they know the answer, but they want validation. So it's like, you gotta know who you're talking to. Because if I was calling the home, especially after like 3 months in the field, if I was calling the home, it wasn't for you to educate me on the underwriting. But if I did ask you an underwriting question, it was for you to validate what I thought. Does that make sense? So you really have to see where you are with it. But for the new agent you see is clearly just not doing anything independently, okay? And then so they're in the house, and I go, hey, am I on speakerphone? No. And they go, that's what you gotta say. Am I on speakerphone? And they go, no. Okay, all right. So this is the last time I'm ever going to do this for you, okay? Now I'm going to shoot you over the agent guide through your text. Open it. It's in alphabetical order. Find lisinopril and go to the right. All right? Don't ever call me again for this. Now hang up. You see, but you got to know your people, because if I did that to you and you were just looking for validation, now I'm wrong. Does that make sense? So you kind of got to know who's calling.
Another question. So how many times?
And I can't slow down worrying about people who are offended. If I'm genuinely trying to help them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I'm genuinely trying to help you. There's no part of me that's trying to offend you. You're offending me by wasting my time. I'm offended. So if you want to talk about being offended, let's talk. You know what I mean? Like, if you really want to talk about it, but let's just not talk about it and just don't do that again.
Okay.
And call it and look at the agent guy. Because the same thing now, Sean did that to me. Like, I call him up and I go, hey, they have diabetes. What should I do? Not for validation, bro. Okay? I literally did not know. Okay? So, and he goes, Dom. And this is when Transamerica, when all we wrote was Transamerica. He goes, Dom, can you read? I said, yes, I can. He goes, okay, what I need you to do is go to the health questions and read the health questions. If you have any questions after that, don't call me. I swear to you, I'm in the house. Now, can I have been offended? Absolutely. But then I was like, you know what an idiot I am. Let me read the damn app. Does that make sense? Let me read it. Like, we just don't do it. So, Grayson, we hop in there and try to fix stuff. And I'm guilty of it too, man. It's not that. But you can be direct, and with the right people will respond well. The wrong people, you'll get them going really fast. It's okay. Does that make sense? It's okay. You know what I mean? Because otherwise, they'll be like 5-6 weeks down the line of, you trying to be passive with them, and then next thing you know, $8,000. Like, where'd that come from? Like, yeah, remember that guy that you were just kind of being passive with and just kind of letting them, call you 18 times a day for nothing? Does that make sense? So I think that, just really knowing your people, okay, but encouraging them to call in the home too. Because if I didn't have anybody to call in the home, I would be out of business. So it didn't stop me from calling Sean. I just knew why I would call him. Does that make sense? I closed it, right? And I left the house and called him and told him I didn't close it. He goes, how didn't you close that? And I go, well, he had diabetes. And he goes, I told you what to write. Now, in my mind, it was a mortgage lead, diabetes. Why would I write him whole life insurance? I'm just so immature that I don't have the gonads to tell him that, hey, this is what you can get. I know your mortgage is $300,000, but $25,000 is what we're going to get you, right? I just didn't have it in me to do it, so I just didn't close it. And he goes, all right, so what I want you to do is turn around and go back to the house. Has anybody had to turn around and go back to a house? Oh boy, it is embarrassing, right? But I learned a ton. You know what I mean? So he goes, all right, Don, I want you to go back to the house. I go, for what? He goes, because you're going to help him out with insurance. All right, now this is what I want you to do. And that's what I love about Sean. He always doesn't say do something. He tells you what to say and how to say it. Does that make sense? Because if he was just like, hey, go back to the house and close it, I'd be like, dude, no way. He said, go back to the house. I want you to knock on their door. He even breaks down knocking the door, I promise you. He'd be like, I want you to knock on the door. When he answers the door, I want you to shake his hand, look at his eyes, and apologize. All right, and then you're going to apologize because you didn't help him and you called your manager, okay? And we definitely have something that you're going to help him out with, and then take off your shoes and go sit down at the table. I walked in there, shook his hand, apologized, went back there, sat down at the table. I said, hey, here's what we're going to do today. Key phrase, by the way, okay? Here's what we're going to do today, all right? We're going to help your mortgage is $1,000 a month, all right? You don't plan on living in the house. You said your son is out of state, he needs some time to sell the house. We're going to get you $25,000, all right? That's going to cover 2 years, all right? So your son can get the house right, put it on the market, get the true value out of it. Sold him. And he thanked me so much for coming back, as embarrassed as I was to turn around. But this was like 3 weeks in the business. And I remember the first time that this business became real to me, after I had a death claim, that it made it real. But the first time I realized that it was me and that I sucked. Anybody cried out there in the field before? I'm serious, like, it's never happened. I do, okay? So it's like really, like, you guys are tough, all right? I'm like, y'all ain't running hard enough then, okay? So I was running. I had like 3 no sales, a few no shows, but it was after my last no sale that I just pulled over to the side of the road, hit the hell out of my steering wheel. I had a Prius, I thought I broke it, okay? I was just like, duh, I suck at this. But the whole time previous to that, Jermaine, that previous 3 weeks, 4 weeks, it was never me. It was never me. It was the leads. Every time someone called me, I'd be like, yeah, they were broke. Yeah, it's Durham. You ever been in Durham? Yeah, you don't want to go there. And he goes, have you ever been to Bridgeport? You know what I mean? Like, it's bad up there too. But it's just, but the second you realize that it's you, and not just like no fall on the sword type of, like literally, it's you. That's when it changes. And that's when Sean said, I said, Sean, dude, I suck. And he goes, yep, now we can work. But he wasn't working with me initially. He was working with Marcus a lot. And then when I saw him working with Marcus a lot, I got jealous. Seriously. I got jealous. And I was like, why are you working with him? He doesn't even work. He just looks good. Marcus looked real good. If you see him, you'd be like, golly, that's a guy right there. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, you'd be like, that's a man. Like, he's like 6'6", built like Adonis. Like, you're like, dude, like, Marcus, he was my bill payer. I was like, hey, well, seriously. I told him, I was like, hey, we were roommates, and I didn't have a job. Imagine that, right? We were roommates, and like, that's why I love him so much, man. Like, this didn't work out for him, but without him, I'm not here. You know what I'm saying? He never tried to get in the way or anything, you know? But, yeah, he paid, he did everything. We went out, everything was on him. Everything. I'm like totally indebted to him for the rest of my life. He used to be on payroll. Hopefully he's not listening. You guys all good? What time is it? My damn battery went off my watch. That's weird. You ever been looking at your watch and wondering, like, why isn't it ticking? Like, what time is it?
3:05.
3:05. We're at 3, right? You guys good?
Good stuff. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Good to go. Add and so.